available for a way out of the conflict that has been raging the southwest and northwest regions for over 7 years. And now we are going to be discussing with some actors, one who is in Cameroon and another who is out of Cameroon, to also tell the world what way they think is the best for the crisis to have a definite end. We are going to be having with me in the studio Apostle Ambe Valentine, who is our permanent consultant. He is right here with me. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians. Good evening to my co-panelists over there. Thank you for this very sensitive and important topic. I have been receiving calls throughout today, and many people are glued to their screen to actually see how we can profile practical solutions to the crisis rocking the Northwest and the Southwest and the entire nation Cameroon. Welcome, televiewers, and stay tuned. We're going to be educating you tonight.
Also with us is Capo Daniel, who is he has been very active in the whole process since the start of this crisis. He's going to be participating from Hong Kong. Good evening, Capo. We're glad to have you for the first time on Prime Hour.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. To the other co-panelists, Apostle Ambe. It's a privilege for me to be in this media house, to be able to engage in this conversation, as the topic suggests, looking for options for a lasting peace. I've had tremendous reaction for these particular exchanges, and I hope we can have a fruitful conversation that can help our people move forward out of this crisis and out of this into a just, lasting peace.
Okay, just lasting peace. We'll start with you, Capo Daniel. Your net assessment of the lives of the people living within the southwest and northwest regions 7 years after the war started. How do you assess their living conditions today?
The humanitarian crisis has worsened. We have a new wave of ADPs, mainly, that have been within the past couple of weeks, mainly from the areas of Uyo, as well as in Nsah. And the issues of conflicts that surround this particular crisis, the arson attack, killing of civilians have continued. And these are also coming at the worst possible time, where the poverty in our territory are just over the roof. So you have poverty, you have people trying to manage a disaster that we have seen in Victoria, Limbe, and many other places in our territory. Things are getting worse forward. And it's time for us, as the CECO has tweeted just a couple of hours before we started the show, that it is time for a negotiated process, find lasting peace in our territory. We have been fighting this for now 7 years, and we have dug into our trenches. Since this conflict started, we never envisaged getting into a war. Nevertheless, we believe our actions to confront the Cameroon military was as a result of us invoking. For over 7 years, we have tried a lot of things. We have learned a lot of things. Certain things have been established on both sides. We have had international engagement, we have had direct engagement, and we believe now my organization, the Amazonian People's Rights Activity Platform, is pushing for alternative considerations amongst our camp, with the hope that the Cameroon government will reconsider their position, that they can engage in negotiation to end this war between both people. We shouldn't be killing each other at this part of Africa, given the poverty level, given the challenges we face with climate changes, with pandemic and cholera and all these things. It's time for us to end this war. it's time for us to find lasting peace based on justice that both sides can live with.
Okay, Apostle Ambe, Valentine Gua, I will also ask you the same question. What is the assessment of the fallout of the conflicts rocking the Southwest and Northwest region 7 years after?
Yes, Mr. Leo, I think I've once answered this question. I will be answering it again for those who are hearing for the very first time. It's a total loss.
Okay.
Loss on both sides. Loss for the entire territory, loss for Anglophones, loss for the military, loss for the state as a whole. Because practically at the end of the day, we don't know who is winning and what they have won so far. I think in any wrestling bout, somebody goes on with the belt. Somebody goes on with a cup after a football finals. But I'm yet to see what the Anglophones will go out with in a crisis like this, or the government as a whole. It's actually challenging because if we want to lay down the loss from the socio-economic, political, and humanitarian aspect, we are practically on 100% loss. And I think it's high time we gathered ourselves and put ourselves down and be able to address some issues the way they are. I like what you put here. What options? What options? I think if we have applied what we used at first and it did not work, we should be looking for better options on how to handle this issue. To me, the idea of war, the mayhem, the massacre, the arsons, the killings all over the entire nation as a result of this crisis has not benefited anybody. Secondly, education has been affected, lives taken, properties destroyed. Nobody has won anything, both from the military as well as the civilians, and also our sons and daughters who rose up yesterday and took guns to face the state. Nobody has benefited anything. I think it's important for us to have a retrospect of all what we have been doing so far and ask ourselves, what kind of business are we doing and what are we investing into and what kind of outcome? Because I think every business is supposed to have a profit-making mentality. And I'm yet to find out the profit we have gathered for the past 7 years so far as a nation, as a people from the English extract, and I'm yet to understand because it's really challenging that at this level where we are after 7 years, there is nothing to boast of. Because practically from the non-state actors as well as the state itself, we are yet to benefit anything. So it's a complete loss. That's my assessment for the past 7 years we've been engaged into this melodrama.
While we look at the options out of the conflicts, Apostle Ambe Valentine considers it a complete loss. What can we say some of the achievements? Can you boast of having achieved anything, Capo Daniel, since this conflict started?
On our side, for the past years, for the people of my generation, many youths like myself, we grew up knowing that we are from Cameroon, even though we find it very difficult that we could not hear the national anthem played in the CRTV in our language. We find it difficult that we could not see our own people from our extraction being in prominent positions. And we grew up really looking for our identity in what we see in these states of Cameroon. And since this war started, it has been a journey for us as a people, both from the generations that were before us and our generation of the millennials. For the past 60 years, we knew that our forebears had voted in a plebiscite that we get into a union with La République du Cameroun, be it as it may be. There are a lot of debate about how that plebiscite decision was made, but the plebiscite was a reality. And from reading our history, looking into why the way we feel the way we are without any protection of our identity, our perception of being discriminated, we realize that for these past 60 years, there have never been any conclusive agreement between the former British Cameroon, where we come from, and the French Cameroon. There have been this engagement that has been ongoing. There have been several, the tripartite meeting that was called, but never have our own people have an input into what type of nation we want to build. And this war have brought in the worst of both sides. And the vast majority of our people who had carried the Cameroon flag, sing the Cameroon national anthem, the ones out, they have expressed themselves through scientific poll put by Kadina Tumi that 96% of our population, they want separation, they want independence. And for the past 7 years, fighting for this goal, we have not successfully had international recognition or move towards this goal post. But nevertheless, we have made some statement using our military response to Cameroon military operations. We have established now 98% control of our schools. Schools are now being opened in our school according to the guidelines that we have provided. Over 80% of our territories do not have resident Cameroon government administrators. We have proven to the state of Cameroon that they cannot govern our territory anymore without consent from our people. And even though we have failed to deliver military victory over the Cameroon state also over this time have come to establish what they call the special state, which is a legal recognition that this, what they call the Northwest and Southwest, are a distinct territory. And this change in posture have basically been dismissed from our camp. They had the national dialogue, we were invited, I was invited, we dismissed it. But after this while, after fighting and in this stalemate, coming from the engagement we have from the Canadian free talks, I think it is time for us, people coming from the former British Southern Cameroon, that we want to call that territory Ambazonia, to come up with some moderate positions to try to meet halfway with the state of Cameroon and have this conflict removed from the battlefield into the negotiation table. I'm proposing a consideration that is being engaged with the other factions and have received a lot of attention and a lot of support. And in case you don't know who I am, I'm part of the youth that built up the defenses through the group that you used to call the Tigers of Ambazonia, who fought in Manu. I've worked with Seseko Ayuk Tabi, his ambassador. I've worked with Capo, with Chris Anu, recently with Ayabacho before I resigned. I have been the main activist of the Ambazonian force. I'm the biggest activist right now in terms of data coming in from YouTube and other things. So I'm in a position to push in a more factions that can attract the hawks within the regime to reconsider their approach of military confrontation. For now, we are acknowledging and addressing the issue of the concession and change of posture in terms of the Cameroon government coming out and giving this special status. And I hope I can have a chance to address the special status as well in this conversation that we are having. But we have now come to the conclusion that we cannot have a military liberation of our territory at this moment. There are still a lot of damage we can do to the state of Cameroon. We can go after their infrastructure as we have done in Douala. We can go after the Chad-Cameroon pipeline project. But all these things are not necessary. The killings are no longer necessary because we have exhausted our limit in terms of what we can accomplish militarily. The state of Cameroon for the past 7 years have not been able to open the roads that we have put roadblocks on. Right now, six divisions in our territories are inaccessible to the Cameroon government, and it's time for us to admit our limitations on both sides and look for compromises. So I'm here also to offer some suggestion of what we are contemplating in terms of solution to this war.
Now, Capo Daniel, we had a program, I'm sure 2 weeks ago, looking at the situation of roadblocks across these divisions you cited, and I had so many persons write from Kumbu, some from Jakiri, describing how painful it was to move from Kumbu and then moving back to the West region to come to Bamenda. When you block these roads, who benefits from it? What is the net benefit from blocking roads, especially for 5 divisions?
These are the tragedies of war. These roadblocks, especially those that were blocked in Mezam area from Babanki, and those that were blocked in Boyo, was as a result of a military operation that was conducted by the 5th Task Force of the Cameroon Army that is stationed in Bamenda. They launched an operation that have saw the execution of some notables in Babanki, the burning of the head of the Takambang group in Belo, and due to this military operation, the soldiers on the ground were forced to take this military approach to block those roads from civilian use.
Except that, Capo Daniel, these roads are blocked. The military goes through. The people, the population that is sick cannot go to the market. Who then is served by these decisions to block these roads?
I will admit that the roadblocks does not have the humanitarian situation. It is a very sad thing, but in this case, most of the cases on the ground, those roadblocks are put for military purposes. It helps the soldiers to isolate the Cameroon military so that they can be better, there can be less civilian casualties. But these are not long-term strategies like the ghost town that we have on Mondays. The roadblocks are usually meant for military response when the Cameroon Task Force have launched an operation, which they did in Babanki and in Belo. Those roadblocks were not there before those operations. Those roadblocks came after the operations were launched as to able to the security challenges that the boys on the ground faces.
Apostle Ambe, we're talking about options out of the conflict situation, and you say there is nothing that has been gained so far. And here we say 5 divisions have been blocked from circulation. What could be the rationale? How does that serve the people?
The question you should be asking, the 5 divisions were blocked from who? And who is the enemy? Because I think if we are at war, I should do everything to torment the enemy. I should torment the antagonist, not the protagonist. I should torment the person I think is the one that is trying to disturb my peace, not the innocent civilians. When roads are blocked, from videos we have, pictures we have, the military walk through those roads. They clear off those roads, they go through. There's a woman that is living in Belu that wants to deliver a child to the hospital. She doesn't have access to hospital. It is the sick man that wants to come to Bamenda, or the poor retiree that wants to come and collect his pension allowance. He cannot come. It is the children who intend to go to school. They don't have access to education. Now the roads are blocked. Are we protecting the people by blocking those roads, or we are punishing the people? I had a cousin who was sick recently. He was in Bingo. Roads were blocked and the person did not have chance to receive the things that were supposed to be taken to him. It's just the mercy of God. The person would have died. The problem is our priorities should be focused in defending and protecting the people we seem to be fighting for. It should not be in tormenting the people we are fighting for. I like what he said. He said he is now beginning to come to a place of compromise. We have been singing this compromise for years. And I said, a stitch in time saves 9. If at all we had come to this compromise earlier, the persons we lost for the past 3 years would not have died, because I've been singing about compromise for almost 3 to 4, 5 years. And I said a rope can only be tensioned if 2 parties hold it firm at the end. A rope can never be tensioned if both parties relax the both ends of that particular rope. And I said the government has tensioned its end, and also the separatists have tensioned their end. Now the entire rope is tensioned, and who is suffering? The masses in the middle. When the military invade a particular community, the masses suffer. When the non-state actors block the roads, the population suffers. That tells us that at the end of the day, 2 elephants are fighting, the grasses suffer. And it is these poor masses that we are talking about that has been our worry, our cries. It has been our major challenge. And I'm glad that probably by some stroke of luck or prayers, God is beginning to soften the hearts of our brothers and sisters to come to a place of compromise, because there have never been any negotiation anywhere on earth in any crisis without some persons compromising. And for us to keep on holding on to what we believe and preach to the extent that people are dying, it is very dangerous, because more people have died because we delayed to compromise. And as at now, if we do not compromise at this level, the next 2, 3, 4 years, more persons will still die that might not have died if I thought we had compromised earlier. We spoke about confederation, we spoke about federalism, we spoke about other systems of government that could better give everyone's right and place in the society, even though we must not obligatorily secede or separate. That we spoke about coming to a compromise, because the arrogance on both sides, and you guys know me, I've been on television, I don't entertain support from one side. The government has been arrogant, the separatists have been arrogant, and it is the arrogance of these two parties that has caused the properties, education, the health, the well-being of people, and the lives of people have been taken as a result of this arrogance that has been stretched for too long. Persons have remained in prison, they are wallowing in dungeon, frustrated, because these two parties did not compromise. I thank God, because today we are gradually pushing towards where some of us began crying some 3 to 4 years ago.
No, Capo Daniel, I want us to come back to what you said earlier on. You said you are pushing for a position of compromise, and that 7 years after you believe that militarily the war cannot be won. How do you, what actually are you saying?
Yes, we are pushing for very strong and robust effort for the consideration of some options. Yeah, but before that, I just want to let Apostle Ambe to understand that for example, when we block the vote, the primary target is the political objective. We don't block vote because we want to do that to punish our own people. Ultimately, the goal for our fighters is to secure the future of those same people, so their actions are for the people's interests. They cause some pain, not why, but ultimately they are fighting to free the people. That said, yes, I am pushing for a very for some consideration amongst our factions in response to the special status. This is a direct response to the special status, because previously we have been dismissive of the special status, we have been dismissive of any other solution other than independence for our territory. Since we cannot have outright military victory, and the Cameroon government cannot have outright military victory, there are possibilities that we look into preserving the territorial integrity, preserving the statehood of the former British Southern Cameroon, that the special status itself has recognized as distinct from the other parts of the Republic du Cameroon, in a manner that you have seen across the world. In Quebec, you have the Constitution of Canada that recognizes the right of self-determination and gives the Quebecese the power to rule themselves, to preserve their identity and speak the language of their culture. Even in the United Kingdom, you have the Scottish land, Northern Ireland, and Wales. They also have autonomy, and they preserve their identity and their culture. Even in Africa, you have the situation of Zanzibar, where they have an autonomy. Even as recently as 2005, the people of Zanzibar, they adopted their own flag, which is distinct from the Tanzanian flag. So the people of Cameroon, we are all Africans. We are going to live somehow as neighbors, or as brother with that neighborhood. Nobody is moving away from that neighborhood. It is all about solution. Now that the state of Cameroon has recognized that we are a distinctive region, you tend even to look at the content of that special status. If you consider both the so-called Northwest and the so-called Southwest as distinct, why don't you allow both of those territories to be together? You don't need to create one regional assembly here, one regional assembly here. Those solutions are not fit even the recognition that the Cameroon state have given. the President Pobia, he recruited 1,000, according to what they put out there, they recruited 1,000 bilingual teachers to go and teach science and technology. There is no extraction in Cameroon where they teach bilingual science and technology. You either learn in English or in French as a medium of study, and all those issue about bilingualism in Cameroon is upside down what is practiced across the globe. If you recognize that this territory is distinct, we want to be able to preserve that, the solutions to be solutions that preserve that uniqueness, that enhances the uniqueness, that empower the people in that region to be able to hold on to their own identity. Even the Cameroon Constitution, Article 62, where part of that article that was used by Pobia to give this status, allows for people for name changes, boundary changes in those constitutions. So what we are asking for the state of Cameroon, not just to have these cosmetic administrative measures, but to have constitutional reforms that changes the state, the nature of the state, that accommodates, recognizes the boundaries of the former British Southern Cameroons that are internationally recognized, recognizes our right of self-determination, and empower the territory with self-governance as it used to be during the British period. As a matter of fact, one would argue that we were self-governed when we were under the British people. How come under black people, or together with black people, we are less empowered to take decisions that governs ourselves, so manage our own budget,
Capo Daniel, what is a compromise you are putting forward from the explanations that you are giving? What is a compromise there?
We are contemplating eternal self-determination, depending on the reaction of the Cameroon government to this proposition.
Internal self. You mean that the Northwest and Southwest are operating internally? How? Because you keep talking.
Right now,
because you keep talking about internationally recognized a boundary, but you are talking about an internal arrangement. How would that operate?
Right now, the people of Scotland, the people of Ireland, they have an international personality. The Scottish football, they have a football team of their own. The people of Quebec, they have a language of their own that is unique to that area. And the people of Wales have a football team that they go and they have international interaction. We want to be able to have our international personality that preserve our right of self-determination. The people of Quebec have a right of self-determination. Those are international guarantees within the Canadian Constitution. So a process of eternal self-determination is something that will not split Cameroon as one national entity, but it is something that is going to recognize that the Cameroon that exists is constituted properly by two separate international entities that maintains their identity, that maintains a level of control, even though they surrender part of their sovereignty to the states, but they manage it. In China, we have the concept of one country, two systems, where you have the government of Hong Kong, where I live. They have their own administration, they have their own flag, they engage with international bodies on some level for their own development. And those things, when you come to look at it as independence being a concept, not just obsession about separation or obsession about independence. We want independence to be tangible. Instead of you reconstructing the airport, which is just 40 kilometers from the airport in Douala, why not build an international airport in Bamenda for the people in that area that will even save the population in Bakusam are going to enjoy from it. Instead of trying to manage a dysfunctional seaport in Kribi, why not build a natural deep sea port in Victoria, Limbe? Instead of dividing us, when you have recognized that we are all, the so-called Northwest and Southwest are all one and distinct, why not preserve that distinctiveness by giving them back their legislature that they used to have, where they can debate on their own budget, have their own priorities in their own budget, and be able to hold local administrators accountable by themselves. These are things that are compatible with independence that can be realized in one Cameroon. Yes.
Capo Daniel, when did you discover that there was need to engage in the compromise position that you now are putting forward? Because this was not what you said 2-3 years ago.
Yes. We in our zeal fight against the injustice of 60 years of struggling to manage this, what Molal they call Jumba no be married. We used to be part of Nigeria for 41 years, where we live in a democratic society where international obligations of the Nigerian state, be it under the British, was respected. And when our people decided to leave and secede from Nigeria, we were let go. And we were forced to make a decision to be with our brothers in French Cameroon. We took that decision. But it was a decision that they never recognized. The Cameroon state voted against the United Nations resolutions that enables us to have a union with them. We met them in Pumban, and every suggestion that we made was dismissed. And the constitution that was imposed upon us was primarily debated by the French Cameroon, decided by them. And for all these years, our people have tried in any way to engage in any meaningful way to have a say in how this country is built, and we have been responded. We have only had response by bullets and bombs.
Okay.
For us to have the GC board, we had to be killed. For us to have even what they are now calling the special status, they had to kill people, put Abobala in prison. Harmony Bogba have to run away. Today they still have Tassan Wipret in prison. We don't have to go down this route. This war is not necessary. What our people are asking for is what our own state have recognized legally. So in terms of the practicality of this solution, the solution that Pobia has offered have not changed anything. You still have the killing in Menjang. The so-called reconciliator is unable to say any word. The so-called House of Assembly is unable to even have a debate about the same issue. So nothing have changed in terms of offering solution by the state of Cameroon.
Okay.
The solution that our people have decided for themselves is that of separation. And we have reached a stalemate that we can't continue to fight this war forever. We have to think about how do we come up with solutions that can accommodate the concerns of both sides. And I have bring this solution to break this impasse, to demonstrate to the rest of the world and even to those within the regime that our people are not just obsessed of separation. But when we talk about independence, we are actually talking about tangible things. We want to be able to have our own flag. We want to be able to govern our territories. We want to be able to secure our internationally recognized boundaries. We want to be able to manage our education, let our education be managed
Capo, we're coming back to you. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Capo Daniel keeps talking about internationally recognized boundaries, but the international community itself is growing the more silent about what is happening out here.
Yes, Mr. Leo, I think Capo is laying emphasis on the special status. By the grace of God, I've studied about 50 different special status in the world.
Okay.
And every special status has its uniqueness. For instance, the case of Zanzibar, the case also of Somalia, the case of Hong Kong, the case of even Britain, the case of Canada. These special status in different countries have different approach. And I was the first person that said I went through the special status offered to the Northwest and the South, and I said there was no content in it. There was nothing practically that gave the North and the Southwest any rights and benefits as a special status. You see, at the level we are right now, we are looking for a solution. And this solution is because we are losing the lives of people. And we must do everything possible to make sure we provide a solution to this problem. Like I said earlier, the government insisted that they will hold a national dialogue without any preconditions, or they want to dialogue without any preconditions. And the separatists also insisted that they will also come to dialogue for negotiations and separation. That was where both parties were some years back, and people kept dying. Now they are shifting grounds. They want the special status to be augmented. That's what I think Capo Daniel is asking. It should be improved upon. As a matter of fact, what has been given as special status does not meet the aspirations of the people of the former British Southern Cameroons. My submission to this particular subject today is the Cameroonians, Southern Cameroonians, as we put it, practically need a solution right now. And the solution is that if you ask any Southern Cameroonian, what is your challenge and what do you want, they will not tell you about a system of government. They will tell you about peace, because they have experienced the heat of war. They have experienced the pain and the torture of war. They have experienced the trauma of war. They have experienced the damages of war. And if you ask them to ever think of envisaging war again as a solution to any crisis, any genuine child of this former British colony, Southern Cameroons, will tell you that war is the worst thing that one can ever imagine. And I can tell you, I've gone down the streets of Southwest and Northwest, I've talked to individuals, and you ask them that, what do you want now? They will tell you, we want peace. We want peace. We want peace. It means they've come to a dead end. They've come to a point where they can no longer go any further. They are desperate, they are frustrated, they are disappointed. To me, I said earlier, if we had reasoned in the very beginning, there wouldn't have been any need for this war, because as a matter of fact, we have fought to get what was signed in the Constitution. The special status was signed by a parliamentary agreement in 1996 that the North and the South were supposed to be given a special status. I do not see the need for almost 10,000 persons to die before what the parliament agreed on to be given. And because of that, it gives me so much worry to realize that if the parliament can sign something and we die to get it, what about what we are asking that the parliament has not given their support? It means we are fighting a dream of lasting peace. Secondly, if we want to carry out a revolution, we should have been able to study other revolutions, how they took place. We cannot just get up from bed spontaneously and launch into a war when we were not prepared, because as a matter of fact, the boomerang of this crisis has fallen more on the masses, on the innocent, vulnerable civilians who stand in between the devil and the deep blue sea. To me, what I can propose as solution right now is that I am happy that we are already shifting grounds and we are already compromising to come to a place where the lives of our people will not be taken away. I hate to see bloodshed. I hate to see people run away from their roots. I hate to see people dispersed across the nation. I live in the city of Douala. I know the pains and the torture through which those who migrated from the north and the south and came here, they are going through in this metropolis of Douala. My greatest cry right now is that may these submissions coming from Capo also meet what the government also will propose and then come to a compromise, because from what I get, it's one side that is talking right now. We have not heard what the government has to say, but I think the fact that they're already shifting grounds is a great achievement so far as the crisis is concerned. But I want to say to my brother Capo that your submissions are very excellent. They are good. The problem is, have we not had submissions in the beginning? We have had submissions in the beginning. Some people have even proposed confederation. It was rejected. Some proposed federation. It was rejected. Now you are talking about internal independence while we are still part of the national territory. Is this going to be accepted? Because if it is not accepted, people will still keep dying. I think proposing a solution to a problem that does not solve the problem isn't a solution, because we are now bringing something to the table and we do not even know where the government stands. And these solutions are proposed right now. We don't even know where they'll be accepted, adopted, and executed. My problem is, if somebody has appendicitis, we should give it a medical approach. Let's chop the appendicitis off and cure the person for the moment. That is why time is not equally on our side, because I see this proposal from Capo Daniel is going to take so much time for manifestation. My problem is, from the time they may one day accept this proposal, how many persons are we still going to bury?
Okay.
How much properties are we still going to found destroyed? How many roads are still going to be blocked? How many children will still stay out of school? How many, and the list continues. So we need an instant, immediate solution that both parties can come to a place where we can put a permanent arrest to this particular crisis. That is my proposal.
Capo Daniel, you are shifting grounds now away from your previous stance. The question many are asking is, are you reflecting the minds of so many persons? Because when I read, I also see persons saying that you have taken money from the government to change your position.
I think those who make those claims have never shown any reason why they should think that way. I have been the primary person that have been exposing Cameroon's crime against humanity on the field. In every single case, I've been the one who have been speaking for our people. I was there when we decided to pick up arms in Manu, fighting as a bishop in the Tigers of Ambazonia. I fought along Mark Barata and many other people who were fighting there. I joined, I helped to build the group that Arike has today. I have set up defense groups on ground zero. I have set up policy for the struggle. I work with Siseko, I work with Ayabatu as a top deputy. I have engaged in the highest level of representing the struggle. I know the cause on the ground. I have engaged with our soldiers and I have engaged with the various leaders. And right now, the situation within our movement is that of a vegetative state. The current organizations that we have now are unable to move on basic things because to stand the heat of people who, when they lack arguments, will say that you have taken money from that for people. That is just ridiculous. This is about the blood and future of our people. Nobody will push themselves the way we have done just to come and be bribed. I'm incorruptible. The solution that I've put will preserve the territorial integrity of Ambazonia. It will preserve us a chance in the future to be able to have the possibility through democratic means like the people in Scotland can have today. And it will save us the blood that is being shed in ground zero. It will save the humanitarian crisis. If the Cameroon government chooses this path, they can easily stop hostility. They can easily get into a negotiation process that can engage our people. Right now, their flexibility, they think that they are on a path of a military victory, and the war is something that have helped President Paul Biya to have a strong grip in the country. It benefits him politically. It makes him looks like the only person who can keep that country together for the most part. We don't think he's a popular person amongst his own people. So it benefits him to stay that way. For some within our own camps as well, the war benefits them because the war itself has transformed into economic interest for some people and for megalomaniacs who also have their own political ambition. And what have been forgotten is the pain of the people on the street on both sides. The poor people from La Republique whose children are being slaughtered, being sent to fight a war that is not moral, and those on our side who are also being killed. So it's time for us to come to a position where we say that let's move this thing to the negotiation table. There is no possibility for the Cameroon government to be able to administer the vast majority of our territory anyway. We have already established that we have the power, we have the strength to deny Cameroon any resident administrator of 80% of our territory right now. Cameroon don't have resident administrators. All of their parliamentarians that they have right now have zero significant participation of our people in those electoral process, which means that we can disrupt Cameroon elections and we can make sure that Cameroon is not able to have legitimacy to govern our territory. These are gains that we have made during the 7 years that are not reversible. Now, what do we do with these gains? The Cameroon, they can go into Nigeria, pick some of us, they can kill some soldiers, but we keep on having new soldiers that come up. How do we go forward? Do we continue killing each other, even when we have recognized the need for us to negotiate, or should we stop the hostility and engage in meaningful dialogue to look for solutions that can satisfy both the hawks in La Republic and the hardliners within our own side? Yes, we can. I believe that we have practical solutions that can satisfy both sides. The solutions that I'm offering, that I've engaged our sides with, to have the self-determination process that recognizes our territory, gives our people the rights to manage their affairs, give them the rights to be able to choose their own governors, to be able to land their own planes. The vast majority of our population, they don't want to use Francophone's airport. We don't want to land in Douala. We don't want to go through controls by the Cameroon gendarmes. We want to land in Bamenda. We want our containers to arrive in Victoria Limbe port. We want our ministers to be able to be voted and being held accountable, and ones that we don't like for them to be fired by our.
Capo Daniel, there are so many persons who have questions for you. I will start with this one. Questions for Capo Daniel. Are you accepting to having a compromise for a one Cameroon agenda, like a one Canada, one United Kingdom? And when you say you are for an internal arrangement and you still say Ambazonia, are you not confusing some persons and yourself? How do you go for an internal arrangement within Cameroon, because Quebec is in Canada and the rest are in UK and a host of others?
Our people are so afraid of him. Remember that the Cameroon Constitution, Article 61, allows for territories within Cameroon to have different names, for geographical arrangement in Cameroon to be changed. These are not strange concepts. These are things that are acceptable.
But are these entities still going to remain part of Cameroon? That is the question.
Of course, Scotland is part of the United Kingdom. Of course, Quebec is part of Canada. But those regions have the right of self-determination. They have an expression of their distinctiveness. In Cameroon, our specificity that the Cameroon government have recognized should be preserved, should be enhanced. The idea of bilingualism that Cameroon is talking about is the problem. You cannot have bilingual teachers. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world. You are either English or French, that you can speak both languages, but you have your medium of communication. In our territory, the primary language should be English. In Cameroon, the primary language is French. And that should be our approach towards this issue of bilingualism, like the bilingualism in Canada. So when they talk about the name and our flag, I traveled to Canada. I just come back recently from Canada. Everywhere you go in Quebec, you have their flag flying up, even in their courts. So nobody should be afraid of the Ambazonian flag. They should not be afraid of the name Ambas Bay. It is an indigenous name that comes from the indigenous people of our territory. They have embraced this identity. Our people should be allowed to have their own international football team. The people of Hong Kong have an international football team. Scotland have an international football team. We should be able to elect our own governors. We should be able to make our own laws and our own police force.
Now,
we don't want Francophones to commissioners in our territory. They don't go. They can't be ruled like that.
Capo, another question is, good evening, please ask Capo, how ready is he for a compromise when 2 days ago he sent out information that he got the guy from Belo, Anyajua, who went out preaching reconciliation?
Yes, this is the problem we have. we are faced with a situation where all, if not all, that region of Cameroon CPDM members who are in exile in Yaoundé. We have audios from numerous members of the CPDM party that are instructing quarterheads to provide intelligence to the Cameroon military. It is international practice that when you provide active intelligence, you identify military targets during a war, you become a part and parcel of that military operation. There is a war going on. We have repeatedly called on everybody during this period of war to avoid participation in the war directly, otherwise you become a military target. So for those people like the one that was arrested in Boyo, he is being considered as a spy, or what they call on the street blackleg. That means people who have been caught providing actionable military aid to the Cameroon military.
Capo, when people are targeted and taken in the name of black legs, you know that you have made so many errors in your life, and all of us have made errors, and persons are targeted in the name of black legs. Do you realize that so many innocent persons are being victimized just because they had issues with people, and then lots of scores settling sets in here?
You are very right, and I have taken it as a duty, as someone who have involved in training soldiers, providing training material for soldiers, to implement a policy that restricts the soldiers' ability to carry out arbitrary actions when it concerns people who are considered blacklegs or spies.
Okay,
I have put in place that anybody who is suspected of spies, you have to have a case against him that you can justify to a third party. Those mechanisms are there to stop arbitrariness. I have also helped find blackleg. I'm sure my friend will tell that anybody who participates as a spy during the time of war is a target that needs to be contained.
Okay.
Before you accept that, those are international practice. We are against people being targeted who are those being accused without any evidence.
Yep. Okay. You keep talking about you keep talking about international practice, Apostle Ambe. Let us look at this issue of people who say they are arrests because others are blacklegs. Where do we derive this authority to arrest, to target, to name, and then under an international jurisdiction?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, the issue of blackleg has been a very serious problem because I've seen a lot of innocent people being targeted as blacklegs. The issue is, I want to ask the criteria they take to ascertain if somebody is a blackleg or not. Because this issue of blackleg has been a very serious problem. People have been arrested, people have been killed, some have been mistaken for others, and they've been eliminated in the name of blackleg. I think the issue is Southern Cameroonians have a cause, they have a challenge they are fighting, and not every Southern Cameroonian has accepted this. And the fact that a Southern Cameroonian has not accepted this does not make the Southern Cameroonian an enemy. That's the first thing. Because we have studied crisis in other countries. People who never accepted the philosophies of their brothers, even though they ended up winning the war, they were not considered blacklegs because they were not forced to believe something they have not caught. I said here once that there are people that will accept the reality of Ambazonia maybe after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because they have not actually caught the light. Somebody has to be convinced to accept the philosophy. And if the person has not yet accepted the philosophy, probably the person has not yet caught the light as far as the philosophy is concerned. The ignorance or the unacceptance of that individual about that particular philosophy should not make the person a target. It is obvious that out of 8 million Southern Cameroonians, maybe 5 million can accept the Ambazonia philosophy. The remaining 3 million still remain Southern Cameroonians. It does not change their identity, it doesn't change their root, it doesn't change their nativity. They still remain Southern Cameroonians. That they have not accepted the philosophy of Ambazonia doesn't make them enemy. So my challenge is why should somebody be targeted, killed, maimed, or somehow deformed because the person did not accept the philosophy. I believe in a society, people should be convinced to accept or follow a cause. Even those who picked guns were also convinced to accept that there is a need for them to fight and defend a territory and die for it. Let's convince people. As a matter of fact, when time goes on, people have to be convinced to accept certain reality. So I don't see the where this black leg of a stuff fits in the society. That's one thing we must understand. Number two, every war has its modus operandi. And I think the way we manage it can either make us being accepted or being rejected. I realize that the issue of the black leg has been one of the reasons why the so-called Anglophones themselves have turned against their own people so much, because I, for one, I am a voice in this nation and a voice in Africa. A lot of persons have called me. Even today, persons called me and even report government officials to me, but I thought I don't have such power to help them. But the truth is, people have written to me, called me, and complained that they were targets of issues they had no idea because somebody used the crisis within the moment to settle score. I think to avoid the effect of this blacklegism, in quote, they should avoid it completely, because a lot of people have been targeted in the name of this black leg stuff. That's one thing we must understand. Also, you must understand that there are persons also who have been sent to that region who are not Anglophones, who are not black legs, who are not Anglophones, but have been sent there to come and set confusion. People can also come set confusion, and people are being targeted. Number three, I think we have a target we are confronting. The target should be the people you are confronting, because I realize that we have more black legs dying than more military people dying. We have more innocent people dying than more military people dying. To avoid this, let us put an end to the issue of blacklegism. Wars have been fought in different nations. I'm a political consultant to a political aspirant in South Sudan, and he has given me a detailed analysis of the 30 years war in Sudan, and I've been able to look at it because I belong to a nation that is going through a crisis similar to that. I've been able to ascertain it. I've also been a political consultant to a potential aspirant to the member of in Sierra Leone. The person also gave me analysis on war, how the war operated there. Please, this idea of blacklegism has taken so many people, and people have equally died as a result of people using circumstances to settle scores. Somebody has a misunderstanding with you, goes and points that you're a black leg, and then you're eliminated. Please let us be able to know how to manage, because this black leg of a thing has caused a lot of atrocities and damages that to contain it is actually really tormenting.
Yeah, but he also talked about the fact the control of 80% and the like. How do we feel that
80% control of the territory?
Yes.
Well, I've been on ground and I've traveled to a lot of places. There is no place in the northwest or in the southwest where you will not find the military. The military is there. They still do controls in all those places. And I think if a place has been taken over, and then practically there should be no military presence in that environment. Number two, most of the SDOs are in their location. The governors of the two regions are in their location. The DOs of those places, they are in their locations. The bunch of persons I know have left their places are mayors, as well as parliamentarians who have moved over to Yaoundé. But when it comes to administrative officials, they are practically there, and they are guided, and their activities are running. In some places in the northwest, like Ambe, activities are smoothly going on there. Smoothly, nothing is disturbing the activities there. Most of the places in southwest, places also have calmed down. They are not as red spots, they are not as hot spots as they were in 2016, 2017, 2018. So the blocking of the road stuff that has been persistent and consistent has been around the Boyo, the Mezam division, and towards the Bui area in the northwest region. But nevertheless, activities are still going on, so I cannot be able to place my finger on the 80% dominance by the restoration forces in the two regions of the country.
Yeah, Capo Daniel, so many persons are writing, I don't know. If I have to read the messages, we may not have to discuss during this program. So many persons are saying that decisions are taken, and especially by you guys in the diaspora, because you don't feel the heat of what is happening. That if you were to live in Boyo Division for a month, some of there are lots of decisions review in some of the decisions that are taken, especially with respect to the roadblocks.
Yeah, I think that you are also in Douala. I'm very sure that you know very well what's going on in Oyo, because you don't need to be in a specific location to know what is actually going on there. Phobia is in Yaoundé, and sometimes he's abroad. He knows what is going on there. And just to throw a light on what Apostle Ambe have said, when I say that we control 80% of our territory, it means that all the civil administrators, for those who have been so-called elected, are not there. They are not resident. They are permanently resident in Yaoundé in 80% of our territory. You can check that. The statistics are out there. The Cameroon Armed Forces and the SDO and GOs who are also men of law, they are also officers of the law. They don't represent the civil or the elected officials. Those elected officials do not exist in 80% of our territory. 98% of our schools are run under Amazonian guidelines that we have provided. I have personally approved over 80% of the schools that are operating in our territory under our strict guidelines. So these are achievements we have had on the ground. And in terms of what people are saying that we can be far and we don't feel the pain. Of course, on a day-to-day basis, I put out podcasts, I engage with our soldiers and our network across our national territory. We can feel the pain no matter where we are. I can assure you that our people at home and abroad, those in Yaoundé and in Douala, are not sleeping because of the images that come back from home, because of testimonies that are coming back from home. And the humanitarian crisis is giving us headache. We cannot continue to live like this. We want peace. We want lasting peace. We want justice. And that is what we deserve. What we are appealing is that the Cameroon government should halt its hostility, choose the path of negotiation for a lasting solution. The solutions they have offered so far have recognized, we acknowledge that it has recognized a problem, but the solutions they have offered has just exacerbated the problem. We are fighting about discrimination. You are imposing bilingualism upon us. That is discriminatory in its nature. And you acknowledge that our territory, the so-called Northwest and Southwest, are one, but yet you create two different regional House of Assembly. We don't want that. You talk about the airport. You want to create an airport that is 40 kilometers to Douala. We want our international airport in Bamenda. We want our seaport in Victoria, Limbe. We want to vote for our governor. We want to police our street. We want local policemen. We don't want gendarmes in our territory. We want our territory to have an international personality where we can engage with local other councils across the world, like the Quebec people are allowed to do, like the people in Scotland are allowed to do, so that we can also manage our own territory.
Capo Daniel, let me put this question to you. You talk a lot about our international recognition and a host of others. In the beginning, we had so many talks about what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest regions at the level of the United States of America, EU, and we saw La Francophonie come to Cameroon. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres came here, Commonwealth, and a host of others. We hear very little from them. What is happening?
The international community have been engaged in this matter. They have not been silent, but the French government in particular have been pushing for the prestige of Mr. Phobia and Cameroon to be respected. That means that anybody who says something must say it in private. I can assure you that all the G20 countries have been engaged with us. We provide passage for 100% of humanitarian actors on the ground, including the United Nations, the Red Cross. None of them move an inch without calling me or informing me of their movement. I personally give them approval to move. We have had the German government have suspended or terminated its military cooperation with Cameroon. The United States of America have sanctioned Cameroon by removing them from the AGOA. We have the World Bank have imposed some conditions in terms of Cameroon meeting up with expectation, crack down on corruption as a means.
But we hear very little from the international community about the crisis. And do you also accept that the wave of fighting has reduced in 2023 compared with what obtained in 2018-19?
Yeah, I think that is something which we have also acknowledged, that as time has gone on, the hardliners within our struggle have been so repelling in terms of the appeal to the common man, the misuse of things like blacklegism, targeting innocent civilians, have also repelled a lot of support. The xenophobic attacks have also, but these have always been as a result of provocation from the other side. We have a Cameroon military man, Moja, which uses xenophobia that have been propped up by the Prime Minister, shaking hands with the Prime Minister. We have Cameroon ministers who call our people cats, rats. The governors of the north of the so-called southwest call our people rats and cockroaches, and he's still the governor. Atangan report dismisses the fact that there is a problem. He's made a minister. It looks like when you provoke a people, you get those type of excesses to come up. There is no excuse for that. There should be never. We should never attack somebody with.
But
you have been lacking in terms of international recognition. I admit that. I'll give that to you.
Yep.
We have not.
But I asked about international recognition. You are citing what is happening back here in Cameroon, and those were positions that were put out at the beginning of the crisis. The government of Cameroon may say that we have moved. Earlier on, some person said there was no crisis. The government, by calling for a major national dialogue, it means that the president is acknowledging that there is a problem. The president says, okay, lay down your arms so that we can receive you at the DDR centers, which means there is an acknowledgement that there is a conflict at your end. You keep citing what obtained. Are you pushing for peace, or you are inciting persons to come in the same positions of 2016-17?
I'm pushing for a just peace. And just before I come to this show, Seseko Ayoktabi have tweeted a tweet that he republished an article written by Cameroon News Agency about the killing in Nacho, and he ended that tweet with a quote. I quote. He says that it is time for a negotiation process to bring lasting peace, and I reflect that sentiment. And our people reflect that sentiment. Our soldiers are in touch with that sentiment. It is time for us to have a negotiated settlement. Okay. We have come this far. We are not here to. I'm not here to incite. I'm not here to play bravado. I've acknowledged that for this past 7 years we have not been able to accomplish military liberation. We don't believe that this is attainable. There are hard lines within our movements, but they are of the minority. The vast majority of our people backs an attainable solution that will appeal to the international community. The international community have so far not moved towards the solution for independence and separation. And it will be wise for us to pursue this path that preserve Ambazonians' possible independence in the future, while for the meantime give us time to see how we can manage our cohabitation with our brothers or our counterparts in the French-speaking part. A lot of water have gone under the bridge. A lot of people have died, and this war has been fought in our territory. And this is a gesture to moderate. I'm reaching out there. I've engaged with our own camps about the possibility of contemplating this solution. And I hope that the Cameroon state will reciprocate by re-engaging, let me say re-engaging, because I do recognize that the Pobia have engaged with the pre-talks despite their own nature of withdrawing from a peace talk to come and say that it never happened. That is just ridiculous. But that tells you...
Capo. Yeah. I will get to Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. You listen to him who says that there is a school system that he monitors. How true is that? And if there is a school, a structure that is monitored by Capo and the rest, which certificates and what examinations have they been writing?
That's the question I almost asked before you asked me.
Okay.
Let me begin first and foremost by trying to pass an information with respect to what Capo Daniel said. I cannot be building an airport 40 kilometers away from Douala. They needed an airport in Bamenda. Prior to this time, there have been an airport in Tico. There have been an aerodrome in Manfi. There have been an airport in Bamenda. I think Capo should understand that on ground here, there is a fight between the two regions themselves. Such a statement can only stir up anger and bitterness against the Northwest and the Southwest. Because if you look critically, that airport in Tico is for the Southwesterners, as they may claim. Then now you are saying that we want an airport in the Northwest. I think you are trying to give the Southwesterners the impression that they already have, that once we come in contact with these people, they will override and dominate us. Because we, as people on ground, that's exactly what we've been experiencing. We'll be having serious challenge, fight, quarreling on different WhatsApp platforms, even physical confrontations from people who do not want to think of the fact that the Northwest and the Southwest man supposed to come together. So that statement is very, very dangerous. So I tell my brother today to mind when he says an airport in Tico is not needed and one in Bamenda is needed. It's inciting something. Secondly, I have gone round. Most of our schools in the Northwest and the Southwest have moved to Yaoundé. I have given a critical economic, political, social, and humanitarian losses as far as the crisis is concerned. One of the areas and the industries that brought money in the North and the Southwest was education. The best schools came from the North and the Southwest, and all top-notch officers of the state sent their children to our schools in the Southwest and the Northwest. But amazingly, most of those schools have migrated into the French-speaking region. As a matter of fact, we have become more bilingualized, let me put it this way, than ever before. I know of a sumptuous building by a Presbyterian school in Yaoundé, a very powerful campus with dormitories. That school was in Bamenda, but it was shifted over to Yaoundé as a result of the crisis. Look at schools like Sacred Heart, St. Joseph's College. They are still lots, they are still operational. So I'm wondering the schools that they are managing, and then they are writing exams under, because the GC results just came out. The GC result just came out, and the year they said that there will be no schools in the North and the South, where some children moved over to the French-speaking region, wrote their GC, they had it, and those who did not write, and as the years are going by, they realize that their friends are advancing academically. Most of them also are moving over. I think this issue of education is something that we have had a lot of losses when it comes to the issue of education in the North and the Southwest. Community schools may be held somewhere, but they are not as advanced or open as some of the schools we have lost in the North and the Southwest who have moved over. I know a college of teachers who left Boya, came to Douala, opened a school in Bonaberi. I know another group of teachers who left the Southwest, a group of teachers left the North and came down to the Littoral and Central Province, opening schools here. So that era of education is something we must address with a lot of caution, because a lot of our children are right now this way, who speak sometimes mix up English and French, something they did not know. I schooled in the English part of the country. I didn't know French and I did not know anything. I grew like that, but this time around there is no Anglophone child you will speak to who does not have at least 40% French in their mind. If you don't learn it in school, the environment will teach you by force. So I think I am still to understand the amount of damages that the crisis has caused our education.
Okay. Capo, I will take some questions. I don't know whether you mind to. This one says, good evening. Please try to tell Capo that we need peace and harmony down here. We should stop the killings. It is too much. Okay. I'll just read them randomly. Good evening. Please ask Capo Daniel, since 7 years today, what have we gained? Let him answer the question. Please ask him, does he have human feelings? How can we be fighting for something and killing ourselves internally in the name of Black Legs if everyone is killed? Who will be there to enjoy the success? Okay, let us take an element from Jato Derek, who is in Bamenda.
The chairman of the Social Democratic Front, SDF, John Frundi, begins the journey to his final rest, July 27, 2023. Preparations have intensified in Bamenda ahead of Chairman John Frundi's arrival and burial in the region. Many have described him as one who played a significant role in the fight for democracy in Cameroon to launch the SDF in 1990. Cameroon's first opposition political party.
He was somebody who brought democracy back to Cameroon. And you see, Africans don't even know how democracy works.
He will always be remembered. He sufficed the dangers of what his sympathizers says ruthless repressive regime for better living conditions for Cameroonians.
And since the inception of the Social Democratic Front Party, a lot has changed within the landscape in Cameroon, stemming from political landscape and communication landscape. Today we can talk freely, and that is thanks to the effort put in by the chairman of Fuji and his party.
May his soul rest in peace. He has worked for Cameroonians. Not only the Cameroonians, opened the eyes of even Africans in general.
His contributions to nation building goes well beyond obtaining a return to multi-party politics. One, we are told, lobbied earnestly for the creation of the independent election organizer. The figure emblematic John Frundi funeral ceremony will be open to the public and will provide an opportunity for friends, colleagues and supporters both at home and abroad pay their last respect to the fallen hero, late SDF chairman John Frundi, a prominent figure in Cameroonian political landscape.
He was somebody who brought democracy back to Cameroon. And you see, Africans don't yet know how democracy works, but they remain in poverty. And leaders like them were supposed to make them go out of poverty. But for the past years, people realized that they were going behind. And as such, he carried the blame alone because he was supposed to show the principles of democracy in such a way that when he leaves the seat, somebody needs to take over. But he has been seated for long, and it brought a lot of misconception to Cameroonians, especially because Cameroon is a kind of country where people believe that that country was not actually supposed to have the unity it deserves. Because history will tell us that the Europeans did not colonize Africa well.
Now, should Frundi be given a befitting burial?
Well, we said that people make mistakes and it's God who judges. Dead people, you cannot talk about them badly. So when a man is dead...
Okay, that was Kibwachas filing in from Bamenda. Today, that was an atmosphere that prevailed in Bamenda. We are going to be having other excerpts from Bamenda, Northwest Regional Capital, from Jato Cedrick. Now, Frundi is going to be laid to rest in the Northwest regions in the days ahead. Capo Daniel, I followed you previously, and a recent outing where you came out to give instructions on how the Bamenda population should pay homage to Frundi. Are you comfortable with what you guys are serving Frundi at the time he's leaving this earth?
These are some of those fortunate things within our liberation struggle. We have had hardlines who have come out there to declare Frundi a threat. Frundi is somebody I myself have also have problem with him because we look up to him. Our expectation was that when this struggle started, he would champion the struggle. He did champion the struggle for a time, but his own solution that he proved was not what we expected, so he let us down. But I think these are those cases where I think some of the hardliners are doing a disservice to our struggle. John Frundi is an icon for our people. All the other factions, except for some few hardliners, have put out statements to pay tribute to what he means to us. I believe our people should have the opportunity to pay their last respect. And there is a lot of hypocrisy within the struggle that has muddied the ground. You remember Chief Mukete, which is a CPDM member and who was actually against the war, was buried in peace and honor, and we respect him. And I did have extend my condolence personally to the family and his successor, despite the fact that these are people who are fighting against us. And but we should always distinguish between political differences and goodwill. Sometimes you don't need everybody to support your solution, but you need people to sympathize with us. Simon Achidi Achu, who was also a member of the CPDM, was buried in honor, and we all pay respect to him. And even within our struggle, we have people like Oliver Lekie, who is a field marshal who was killed. He was somebody that I had asked for him to be arrested because of our internal dynamics. But when he died, I did send out condolence. I did pay tribute to him. This is our culture. Those who are pushing for hate speech, xenophobia within this struggle, I think they are in the minorities, and our people are beginning to realize that they are not doing us a service. You want the type of curses that happened to Sierra Leone, for Liberia to happen to us, or what is happening in Cameroon. For those of us who believe in tradition, who believe that the fact that Aijo was buried out of that country has brought them a lot of curse. So we don't want that type of a curse. And my message to our people is that the moment of the death of Fundi should be a reflection to all of us. For those people within the opposition party and other segment of the society that cannot directly support the agenda of separation, the agenda of Ambazonia, it is a time for them to take a look at those of us who are moderate, and those of us who are sound-minded, and those of us who are reasonable, who have the heart for the people, and to come back home, engage in a meaningful way. And you will not be called a black leg unless you are working with the Cameroon army. Stay away from the Cameroon army. Those who have asked those questions, stay away from the military, and then you'll be fine. Our soldiers, they get it. I've been engaged with many of our soldiers, and this is a moment for us to heal and to let people know that you can be in Ambazonia and you disagree with us. You can be within our population and you don't support separation. So long as you are not part of the fighting, you are not a combatant or providing material support, you should be left alone. And that is how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
So I wish that he have a safe journey back home. He has been a very controversial person. When he was arrested by our forces, I interrogated him.
Yeah, Capo Daniel, you describe Fundi as a very controversial person because he stood by what he believed in. You yourself has been treated severally, even as we speak, by so many persons as controversial, and so many persons also consider you a black leg, a sellout, because you stand by the convictions that you believe in. Why should Fundi be vilified, crucified for standing for what he believes in? Who gave him a mandate to do exactly what you want him to do?
Fundi should not be vilified. Fundi should, when people have different opinion with us, we should debate them. We should confront them. That is what I do. I have never called somebody a black leg simply because you disagree with me or because you support one Cameroon agenda. I still consider you as a patriot, a comrade, a fellow citizen, a fellow human being that disagrees with me. I believe in civil liberty. I believe in the gentleman spirit of us Southern Cameroonians. Okay. When we have differences with Fundi have choose his choice. We should respect that, and that is what I tell everybody. Previously, I had said that Fundi had betrayed us, and that was true. Because for most of us who are speaking today outside there, speaking for our people, we get that spirit from Fundi. And we were expecting that because the overwhelming majority of our people aspire to be separated from Cameroon, that he would take the blow and stand for that agenda, which he did not. We consider that a failure for us. He failed to stand up to the change in demography. But that does not amount to treason. Those who are calling Fundi treason are extremists. These are hardliners who have no space in our public debate. These are people who are promoting what will make Paul Biya to be happy. These are people who promote targeting of civilians. They have openly said so. They have justified even the killings in Nacho and defended it. Only mad people will do that. But there are mad people in this war. But the war should know that the vast majority of our people are settled-headed people. There are people who are looking for just solutions that are going to meet up with the aspiration of their people. That is what drives us. You can call somebody a black leg, you can call me a traitor or what. What really matters is what defines my conduct is what I have actually done and what my motivations are. I have never called Fundi a black leg. I've said that he let us down, and I believe he let us down. A lot of our people feel that way. That does not mean that we should not give him his place in the society. He deserves all the respect and honor for what he has done for our people.
Now, let's take another listen to Jato Derek paint the picture of Bamenda in preparation for the funeral of Chairman Nijan Fundi.
Capital of the Northwest region. There is one man and one event on the lips of everyone here.
Nijan Fundi is an icon in Cameroon, the father of democracy.
We be very prepared for welcoming you and for pray for you, maybe go fine.
The Bamenda phase of the funeral ceremony starts July 28. And there is something about the man Nijan Fundi, the late chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, and this place called the Liberty Square or City Chemist Roundabout in the heart of the city. City Chemist Roundabout, Bamenda, politically known as the Liberty Square. And right here you can see the banner carrying the picture and the message and the funeral program of the late ATF chairman Nijan Fundi. Nijan Fundi was here on the 26th of May 1990 after he launched the Social Democratic Front at Darikon. Reports say it was initially planned that the over 80,000 people will gather here at the Liberty Square and they will march this way to the Bamenda Stadium. But to go to the Bamenda Stadium, you must pass through the Commercial Avenue and the main ceremonial grandstand. So because of security that was mounted at the Commercial Avenue, the militants of the Social Democratic Front, that 26th day of May 1990, could not penetrate, and they had to change the plan to go and launch the Social Democratic Front and Tarikun. And after the launching of the Social Democratic Front and Tarikun, they came right here. You could see this is very, very historic. You cannot talk about the Social Democratic Front without talking about the Liberty Square or the City Chemist Roundabout. So Nijan Fundi played the program. His remains will be brought here. It is an honor. It is a legacy to tell him that where he came with the party in 1990, his remains equally has come here to bear witness of a life well spent by the population of the Northwest region and sympathizers of the Social Democratic Front. We are Charles Kebwa and Derek Jato on a special assignment here in Bamenda, signing out.
Much Derek Jato for that stand up from Bamenda, Northwest Regional Capital. How do we understand that a lockdown is called to bar the way to Fundi?
Mr. Lou, I'll put that in simple English: misplacement of priorities. How does the lockdown against Fundi's barrier help people to achieve the dreams they have? How does the lockdown against Fundi's barrier make them achieve the independence? How does it help Southern Cameroonians? How does it recover the souls of all those who have died? How does it help the poor man in Furawa who does not have access to go to hospital? How does it help the old man in Boyo? How does it help the innocent who have died in respective areas in the north and the southwest? How does it affect the government of this nation? Because if I think the restoration forces are fighting against the government, I think they should be targeting the military and the government officials. How does the fight against Frundi help propel or push their dreams into reality? It's a futile effort. It's a dream that has no focus. It's an abuse to the integrity of the lone Anglophone that stood up tall to give Anglophones a face in this nation in the political terrain. It's an insult and an abuse to every Bamenda child who saw that somebody from our own place rose up to challenge the status quo in the 90s. It is an insult to the lone Democrat in this nation who refused to share innocent blood when his elections were stolen. It is an insult to every child that comes from that northwest region that we cannot stand and look at the face of other regions in this country because we cannot fight and protect our own. I'm yet to see when the Beatties will rise and the Bulus and the Fangs to speak against President Pobia despite his flaws. I'm yet to see where those from the north will rise and speak against Belova Maigari because of his flaws. I'm yet to see where the people from the west will rise up to speak against Kecha Kutes or Emmanuel Jamgame in Dumesi, who works because of his flaws. It's in the northwest that the Lone Ranger, Frundi, who rose up and gave the Northwesterner pride in this nation, gave the Anglophones pride in this nation. Somebody was able to rally the 10 regions and put them under control to vote for him. And he won elections and refused to shed innocent blood. Such a person is a hero. The very first person that propelled the manifestation of multipartyism in this country. The lone political party that challenged the parliament in the past. The lone political party that has challenged the Senate in the past. The lone man that stood in this nation and spoke truth to power. The man whose political party brought a lot of reforms to this country. And then it's our pride to lay him to rest from his nativity, as Mandela was carried many years ago. Mandela had mistakes. Mandela had errors. Mandela gave South Africans political independence but did not give them economic independence. That was a flaw in Mandela's life. When Mandela died, dignity, decorum was attached to his funeral when they escorted him to his nativity where he was buried. How can Frundi, of all people, who is the one that has given us the pride as Northwesterners in this nation, as even Anglophones in this country, be giving such a shameful, ridiculous approach to his funeral? How does that benefit the whole struggle put together? To me, I say it to those who are carrying that act as you are a disgrace and a shame to the personalities of Southern Cameroonians. You are the ones who have spat in our face. You are the ones who are making outsiders to mock and disdain our own hero. I am sure a statue should be erected around City Kings roundabout at Liberty Square in honor of John Frundi for what he has done in this country. I'm not a political activist. I am not in any political party. I'm not doing partisan politics. I am not a member of the SDF party, but I'm a keen observer, a political analyst, and also somebody who has followed the trends of events in this country. Frundi should not by any means be humiliated. The humiliation, first and foremost, they gave him by arresting him and putting him in a camp is a mockery for a man of such portfolio and dignity in this country. I, standing or sitting on this platform, I do not accept, I do not embrace, I do not buy that idea, and I condemn it with every energy in me.
Yes, but Capo talked about a survey that was carried out by late Cardinal Tumi.
Yes.
That suggests that this was a proportion. If that same, I don't know, survey were to be conducted today after what happened to me himself and now Frundi, are we capitalizing to get more supporters or pushing away?
No, they are pushing away support. Such a humiliation to a man like Frundi, the SDF family as a whole will never buy their idea. And I can tell you, SDF is a sleeping dog in this nation. SDF is a sleeping lion, I beg your pardon, in this nation. I can tell that out of 8 million Southern Cameroonians, but directly and indirectly, at least 6 million are SDF. And so if in that same Southern Cameroons, you are humiliating the person who founded that party, you have denied the support of at least 6 million people. You see, strategically thinking, insulting Frundi is denying your right in the English-speaking part of the country, and even in some French-speaking parts of the country, because Frundi is not just celebrated at the Anglophone part of the country. Frundi is celebrated in the 10 regions of this country. A man that could win an election did not win in Northwest and Southwest. You should understand his roots. A man that has parliamentarians from North, he has parliamentarians from South, from Littoral, to tell you that it's not just a Northwest property, but the fact that he came from the Northwest was our pride. It was our pride. How do you expect now the SDF militants of Faro Edio, Diamare, Lomenjerim, and all the other parts of the country to look at us Anglophones and call us what? Are you telling me that the Betis and the Bulus, they are not also angry with some of the ventures, President Pobia? They are.
We just have 13 more minutes to go. I want us to profile possible ways out of the situation in which we find ourselves in the Southwest and Northwest regions. Now, Capo Daniel, I want to get to you. The people are writing severally. They actually are tired. I would not want to read some of the messages because many of them are very insultive. But the people are saying they are tired. They want a way out. How do we mobilize the population for a way out of the current impasse? Or we say that they are helpless, we are in times of war, they have to support whatever is served them. For how long should they be supporting the decisions that are taken at both ends?
Yeah, we are doing everything and to make sure that tactics that are such that will keep our people's livelihood intact during this time when they have bore the brunt of this war, and continue to push that. For those roadblocks, I personally engage with our soldiers to make sure that they don't outlive their necessity. When it is not necessary, those roadblocks should be removed. And our people should have that in mind. For you to have your freedom, there must be a price. There is no way you can have freedom without having this price. We didn't pick up weapons in response to Cameroon's change of name of the state or refusing our rights. We pick up weapons for self-defense. We should never forget that. Those boys did not pick up weapons as a means to liberate our territory. But right now, just like Apostle Ambe have said, there are the real traitors of our people. The real people who have betrayed the cause of our common people are those who have come with overzealousness, with megalomania, and they generalize everything. They are not consistent even in their own principle. You allow Achiriachu to be buried and you make a whole big deal out of Fundi. You allow Chief Mukete to be buried and you are making a big deal out of Fundi, because some of those people, I don't know if they have their own personal beef or not, but our people should understand this feeling and aspiration that they have. It is just and it is noble. We are here. I am here to ensure that for those who have picked up weapons for self-defense purposes, to fight for the rights for separation and independence, that their memory will be kept intact, that we will not, out of our own foolishness, send away people that could help us. We need everybody to come together. We need even sympathy from people within Cameroon. That is how liberations war are won. We don't want our struggle to be misunderstood as a xenophobic or hate speech-driven struggle. This is a right of self-preservation of what we have, which has been recognized internationally and today by the state of Cameroon. Let us stick to international rules. Anybody who is there to violate international laws, those are the real traitors. Stick to the Geneva Convention. Do not attack anybody who is not a combatant, who is on the other side. Do not wrongfully accuse people, and don't lend yourself to be used by those who are here for other.
Persons have been killed for 7 years today. You want a way out. Practically speaking, you want an internal arrangement. How do we get there?
The state of Cameroon have to come to the realization that the special status, even though it's a dramatic change in posture, political posture, it has not made the cut. It has not met up with our aspiration, and the resistance will continue if nothing is done. The Cameroon state have demonstrated some flexibility in engaging on our terms in the Canadian free talks. And I hope that the regime will realize itself that the path it has chosen will not work. There is no way they can defeat us militarily. We can have our own internal problems. We can keep this thing for the next 100 years because there is no way we are going to accept the special status the way it is.
Are you saying that you can win the Cameroon military?
We cannot win Cameroon military. The option of military operation is out of the window. That particular one, I can tell you as a military man, as somebody who is responsible for the fighting, that equation, those who are talking about military victory for Amazonia are people who are the not-head people. They are in our society. These are people who are not living in the real world. Okay. Now we must look ahead of us. What type of future can we hand to the next generation for all the pains and death that our people have endured? What should we do? Should we just hold our head that we just want independence? There is also a possibility that we can secure a pathway for the future generations while be able to leverage the fighting that our soldiers have done on the ground to attract the rightful attention from the international community for the right solutions for this problem. Okay. I don't believe Paul Biya will willingly accept these solutions, but I believe the international community that have the leverage over Cameroon can seize the opportunity of this flexibility to apply the rightful pressure for Paul Biya to come to the negotiation table. Okay. Solve this issue.
Apostle Ambe, what are the possibilities for the international community to pressure government to get into what Capo is saying? Because from every indications, they are becoming the more indifferent to what's happening.
Mr. Leo, this international community of a thing has been something I've addressed repeatedly on this platform, and I still maintain my stand. Okay. They are not ignorant of the amount of debt recorded already. They are not ignorant of the damages caused already. They are not ignorant of what Cameroon stands to, or Cameroon is. They are not ignorant of the history of this country. This international community we are talking is Britain, France, Canada, America, people who are vested with what happened in Cameroon from the 20s right to the 60s to present day. I'm sure they are very much aware of what is happening. I'm sure they have had images, pictures of different atrocities occurring here. They have even sent representatives to come. Commonwealth has come here through Patricia Scotland. Francophonie came here, AU came here, Secretary General of United Nations came here, the UN Senate has written, UN Congress has written, and name them, you can name them. The Norwegian Refugee Commission wrote that it is the most neglected crisis among all crises. I have statistics. The Human Rights Watch has also been here giving statistics of what is happening on ground. Are you telling me that this international community is that heartless, that they will see children not going to school, they will see children displaced, they will see refugees in Nigeria around the Ogoja area, Ikom area, they will see Cameroonians, Anglophones running and sleeping in the streets in Douala. They will see the amount of deaths. This one died, this one died, this one died. The mass killing in Garbu, the children who died, and name them, the soldiers who have died so far, and the destruction of properties. This international community has played the deaf and dumb object in this particular crisis for a very long time. I'm wondering if at all Capo is not aware that these personalities and all these organizations came to this nation and they are still playing a deaf ear and a blind eye to what is happening right now. Is it now that they will suddenly from nowhere erupt? The national dialogue was held in this country, even the subject of federalism. I mean, there are people who are federalists that live in this country, which means they will not kill you as a federalist. They will not arrest you as a federalist. But the subject of federalism was not even accepted to be shared in the national dialogue. Is it what he's asking right now that the Cameroon government will suddenly respond to? or the international community is not aware of the fact that there are confederationists in this country, there are federalists in this country who have been agitating and publicly presenting their views. As a matter of fact, a legitimate political party like SDF that has won seats in the parliament has been agitating for a federal system of government, and a blind eye and a deaf ear was given to them. Is it now that the international community from nowhere will suddenly erupt and then come to solve? We have been agitating in the past about resolution 1608, something that Americans themselves wrote. We are reminding them. How can you be reminded that your name is Cum Leonard? That is where the challenge is. So I don't see an international community coming to solve, because the attempt even by the Swiss, it has been rejected, and going this way, all this way, Canadian pre-talks, they have not amounted to anything. That tells you that we will keep on dying and trusting this international community to come in and solve a problem that we could put our heads together, arrive at a consensus, be able to negotiate, and then shift grounds for two reasons. One, for the value and the sacredness of human life, which is being destroyed day in, day out. And secondly, for peace, which is a commodity that cannot be bought. How did war become too cheap than peace?
We are going to be ending there with you, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Capo Daniel, we are glad to have had you this evening on Prime Hour.
Thank you very much. We'll continue to engage our people and to make sure that we carry this struggle out of the combat zone to the negotiation table. And the ball is in the hands of the state party, Cameroon government. They have the biggest knife. They are more responsible, and they can stop this war today if they choose to do so. The military operation can stop, can be halted. It's going to relieve the humanitarian solution, the humanitarian crisis, and negotiation is going to facilitate us moving this crisis from the ground to the negotiation table where it belongs. Whether they want to debate in London or UK, a negotiation should be done. We are not afraid of negotiating with Cameroon, really, but it is just that there is no trust. We will require some guarantors from the international community that can compel both parties to abide to any outcome. So our preferred negotiation is within the international community, with just like it was engaged previously. If the international community could get the Swiss process, if they could get the Canadian process, definitely they could get a third process that is worth it. The Canadian process is dead and over, and we don't want to cry over spilled milk, but there is a possibility that it can be rejuvenated if the Cameroon government is interested, and we will continue to resist until our expectation or the aspiration of our people are met. Because right now, there is just no way any human being can expect the people of Ambazonia to accept this situation that they find themselves in, or the solutions that Pobia is offering.
Okay, thank you very much, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. It's always a joy to be here. It was a nice one. Thank you, Capo, for your contributions.
We want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of Prime Hour, and also to the production team, Eli and Desmond. We are very, very grateful for the work. And to you, Derek Jato and Charles Kebwa from Bamenda, we say thank you. Tabitha and Brian for supervision. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.